From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant. It is presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida. Coming up on today's show, practice observations. Lots of them. Launch special for Warchant.com, still going this week. Sign up, everybody. Legitimately, literally, it is $1 for an entire year of access to Warchant.com. We're not going to put like a crazy hold on your credit card or anything. It's not just till the end of the calendar year. It's $1 for 365 days of Warchant.com. Try it, or just come troll us. You'll have $1. You have an access to the site. But listen, you can't be rude. Like, you will get banned if you show your rear end on the forums. But you won't do that because you want all the best information. You want to interact with all the Florida State fans. It's $1. Warchant.com. Check it out. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida. CPTallybar.com. On the internet, they got daily lunch specials. They've got fun social activities, bingo night, trivia night, live music going down this weekend. Right, Corey, as you said, I think a little bit a day or two ago?
Yeah, live music on Saturday night, buddy. 85 nice. South.
85 South. Check it out. The world's your oyster over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, off Appalachian Parkway. How are you, Corey? I feel like I haven't asked you that in a while, lead off the show, but how are you?
I mean, I'm good, man. I'm good. My nose is healing a little bit from getting cut into last week. Still haven't gotten the results on that. Hopefully that'll be soon. Gallbladder's healing. The bandages are coming off. My belly button looks weird, but hopefully that comes back to normal in a few months. And other than that, man, feeling good. Just, like I said, I'm itching to get back into the working out mode, but I got no strenuous activity still for another 4 weeks, apparently.
Oh, man. Well, maybe you'll be a fast healer. Hopefully you'll be back on the mend soon enough. But that's cool, though, man. There are times, it took me a long time, but finally I do like working out. Like, I enjoy going, and when I don't go, I'm like, feel bad about it. So
yeah,
welcome.
I finally got there, man, and then I got to take 6 weeks off. So I'm still getting my steps in, still doing my walking. I try to walk around as much as possible at practice too, and that's what people want to hear about is practice, not necessarily how I'm doing. But I appreciate the question, Aslan, and I'm doing well. And you know what, man? How are you doing?
All right, man. I took a midday nap on Tuesday, which, man, it all hit me at once. I am so glad they're not practicing today. I am so glad. I do not. I'm off the record, but on the record.
I was going to say, we're on the record, right?
Yeah.
This is being recorded.
Yeah, I'm cool with the morning practices. Like, I'm coming around to it. But I just, the midnight madness and starting, in a weird part of the calendar. And I don't know, having like Saturday off and then coming back Sunday, I don't know, just it threw me for a loop. But I'm cool with it now. I can get everything done early in the day and be happy and everything. So, but anyhow, like you said, people want to talk about practice. Not our, our daily habits. But, hey, our daily habits is usually going out there and covering practice. So, thoughts on this, man? I thought it was a little bit up and down. I don't think one side of the ball necessarily carried the day against the other. But I liked the way Tuesday's practice looked. I liked the way it sounded. I saw a lot of, man, when they started getting into the red zone, there was just so much, not talking as in chirping back and forth, but coaching being done by guys on the field, guys on the sideline yelling at defenders, get wide. I mean, guys on the offensive side of the ball yelling at one another. Because I see a team, man. I think this is a team, and I didn't hear this sort of stuff, and I didn't see this sort of stuff in practice, that I think does believe in itself. Like, I believe they think in their heart of hearts, or they believe in their heart of hearts, rather, that, like, man, we're going to be a good team. And I think that's why I see kind of like the frustration at times from Norvell during practice. He wears it on his face sometimes. And just like the amount of talking and yelling that was going on during 11-on-11s because, like, I think last year before that, no one's nervous, but I think everyone's just kind of standing around to a certain degree, watching what's happening in front of them. If they're not involved in a play, just like, all right, let me get my next rep. I'm going to do the best I can, but we are who we are. But, man, I think there's an expectation within that team that, listen, we're going to be good, so we need to perform well. And when they're not, that's why we're seeing guys either, body language be like, or we hear this sort of spirit from people yelling and coaching each other up from the sideline because they want to succeed. So I like that. I was encouraged by Tuesday, believe it or not.
Okay, buddy. Well, that's good. Yeah, so the way practice works is we go to the IPF to watch as on the first 3 periods.
Roughly, yeah.
Which is basically the only thing that there's a little bit of drill work, but it's mainly the coolest part about it is there's a 5-minute like team 11-on-11 session
tempo.
right there
tempo.
at the beginning of practice. And so we're in there for those 3 periods, so that's 15 minutes. Then we go up to the baseball stadium for probably an hour, I guess, and watch from above, like 2 stories above to the practice fields below us. And the one to the far right is I don't know, 300 yards away from us. So we don't get to hear the talking as much because we're away from it. But then the last 45 minutes or so, they go back into the IPF and do mainly all their team 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 stuff. So guys are coming off every 3 plays essentially, and they switch out for another full 11 on each side of the ball. And yeah, man, Aslan's right. And it's, hopefully, I'm sure it's this way at all the places that are good.
Yes.
All the places that are good, when they're coming off the field, the players are talking to each other about what went right or what went wrong, what should have been happening, as a coach is also coming over to talk to them. It's not just, okay, I'm done, let me go walk off the field slowly. By myself. There really is a lot of active communication, it's good to see. I saw it yesterday with a couple of young offensive linemen, where one of the offensive linemen was confused about who he was supposed to have on a certain blocking assignment, and the other one was like, no, right? So this is what you should have seen. This is what, and they're talking to each other through it, which again, that's awesome. It was also the first day of August. So again, this isn't going to be well-oiled machine, so don't feel like, oh man, why don't they know what they're doing? It's the first day of August. This is what practice is for. But it is nice that so many of them seem to genuinely care.
Yes.
And not just care about their own performance, but care about the team and the team's performance, like the unit's performance, and they go and try to help each other out when they can.
And the other thing I did want to mention, too, along the lines of just experiencing practice and watching Mike Norvell kind of live and die with every single rep that's happening. And, man, I think if you gave him whatever the sodium pentothal or whatever the truth serum is, I mean, because there was a moment in practice where, man, he just –
does that stuff work, by the way?
I don't know. I just probably just make you drowsy, and then you're more likely to. I don't know. How could you be more truthful? Like, what is it gonna? You can't just hit some part of your.
Yeah, a part of your brain that doesn't let you come up with a fabrication? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what it does. Maybe it loosens that part up rather than bringing out the truth. Maybe it just suppresses your lies.
Sure. All right. Well, I just don't know how that would work scientifically. Guys, if you're a scientist out there that's produced truth serum before, let us know how it works, because we're genuinely curious.
I'm late to the party on these things, man, but just watching Mike Norvell through practice on Tuesday, again, man, I liked it. I think there was moments where the defense stepped up. I think there was moments where the offense made some plays, and there was moments where the defense let things slip through their fingers. I think the offense let things slip through their fingers, literally, whether it be a drop pass or kind of missed opportunities, but just kind of seeing some of the frustration on the emotional sleeve of Mike Norvell. Listen, I get it, man. Jordan Travis is going to be the starting quarterback this season. I believe that. Man, but I think there is something that Tate Rodemaker has been doing here in this part of camp, and we haven't, we've seen him in kind of limited parts here in spurts. But, man, I think if you ask Mike Norvell, gosh, he wishes that there was some way he could speed up the maturity or the development of Tate Rodemaker, because I really think that is the skill set. That is the kind of the eyes and the ears and the mind that he wants his quarterback to have. And listen, man, Florida State's one of the 15 best programs of all time in this sport. There'll probably be at least like a top 40 team at the bottom end, I think, of our expectations. And Jordan Travis is going to start for his childhood dream team. That's awesome, man. Like, I just think there is a clear limitation to, I think, what Jordan's going to be this season. Whatever this proverbial light that's going to come on, some sort of switch that's going to be flipped, I just don't see it happening, man. I think he's played too much football for us. I think he's going to make a drastic change. We really haven't seen a lot of it. We haven't seen any growth. We haven't seen any regression either, which is also important, because Corey's made the point that if Jordan Travis just gives you 2021 Jordan Travis with better weapons around him, this team will be better, and I believe that. But, man, there's just something you need out of your quarterback. There is a spirit, a fight, a desire that, man, you can't develop it in year 4, I don't think, man. I don't think it can be I've been working closer with my teammates. I've been watching more film. Then there needs to be some sort of like religious experience you go through playing football that's going to maybe make you get over some sort of hill or cliff that you're trying to climb when it comes to developing as a quarterback. And, quite frankly, we're running out of time for Jordan Travis to figure that out. And I'm not down on him or the offense, but I just think that Tate Rodemaker has a penchant for wanting to look for things downfield. Jordan wants to just do the safe play. And I don't know, I think Ira said it, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, Ira, sorry, but I'm going to say it. Man, like Tate rips it when he sees it, but Jordan just from maybe a lack of confidence just doesn't want to press it, man, which is fine. Like he won't turn the ball over, but man, you have to go make plays sometimes as a quarterback. But maybe he'll do that with his legs, Corey, and we're not able to really see a lot of that right now. But I don't know. I believe in terms of, man, what this team could be. Would this be a 10-win team right now if they had Christian Ponder, EJ Manuel?
No.
Really? Okay. Well, I think they would.
So.
I think they would.
And I will say I certainly don't question Jordan Travis's spirit, fight, and desire. That's there. That guy does have he definitely wants to be good, and he has a great spirit. I think when it comes to him. And look, man, look. Tate Rodemaker is a better thrower of the football, and not just the spiral is tighter and he can throw it a little bit further and he's got a little bit better arm. Jordan Travis does all that fine. To me, the quarterback play when it comes to the passing offense, it's a quarterback that gets it out on time, puts it where it needs to be, and gets it out on time. That's where I think. And look, Tate has had one really good day, and that just happened to be Tuesday. And now you're hearing us afterwards. I think Tate is better than that. Tate's also never done it in a game, and we got to start seeing him stack it on top of each other. But I think it's really good news for Florida State fans that it is not an abject horror show if Jordan Travis goes down. I think you have a guy that can play a little bit, and maybe you don't fall off too much, but I think you have to change your offense. If Tate Rodemaker were to take over because Jordan Travis got banged up, I don't think you could run a lot of zone read. Don't think it's going to matter. Because I just, I was thinking about it today watching Jordan Travis. Almost every one of his throws has some run element in it, meaning it's a fake zone read, then he backs up, or it's a rollout this way, or it's a rollout that way. He stands in the pocket a lot. But I was thinking back a little bit about these practices and then mostly watching the games last year. There's not a lot of just scanning and throwing. Catching the snap, looking, one read, second read, getting rid of the ball and throwing it. That's not really his game. The question is, I do think Tate Rodemaker, and we're a week in though, but I think it's fair to say that Jordan Travis hasn't taken if Jordan Travis looked like Tate Rodemaker looks in the passing element of playing quarterback, I think we would say, oh, man, if Jordan Travis had a day on Tuesday like Tate Rodemaker did or a drive like that, wouldn't you say, man, the light might have just come on. He might have just taken a big step.
Well, I definitely would say he's progressed. I would say he's progressed.
So he looks a lot like the Jordan Travis of last year. First read's not open, second read's not open, the ball gets held a little longer. The beauty about Jordan Travis is he can do things even when his first read isn't open. And when his first read is open, he puts it on him. He's not missing him by 10 yards. He's not seeing it. He understands the game. He's done fine. I don't want, like Aslan said, it's not like he's been horrible. Like last year, man, I'm telling you guys, the first 3 weeks of spring practice, Mackenzie Milton was essentially not good at all. He just didn't look good. And then he came on the last week and then had a good spring game. And then it was, and then I think he missed a week or a week and a half of preseason practice, whatever that was, that goofy stuff that was happening last August. But this isn't that. This isn't Jordan looking like that. Jordan Travis looks just like he did at the end of last year, which again, he totaled 300 yards of offense against Florida. He beat Miami. He won at Boston College. He was good enough in those games, and he looks still good enough. Tate Rodemaker just looked like the prototypical 6'5", slinging quarterback that you want to see in a passing offense. But guess what, man? This isn't a passing offense. And I was thinking about that today because I knew we'd have this conversation, and we'll continue to have it, I'm sure, throughout the month and the year. I think even if Florida State had Christian Ponder or EJ Manuel, let's say Christian Ponder, who was a first round pick, I don't think they would have really the ability to be an elite passing team. They could be good.
Who is he throwing the ball to that's markedly better?
Who was he throwing? Well,
Rodney Smith, I love Rodney Smith, but I mean, Malik McClain can probably be Rodney Smith.
Yeah, but he's not right now anyway. He had the great Burt Reed, Taiwan Easterling. Don't dare.
And I'm not besmirching Rodney Smith. Shout out
those guys.
Big touchdown catch against the Gators in 2010, man. I love you,
Fortson,
man.
He had Fortson in 2009. Rod Owens, Richard Goodman. He had some.
You're ripping off some legends with some.
I'm just saying he had some guys to throw to in 2009. Don't forget Bo Relaford either. I think maybe Bo Relaford was the tight end. But the point being, I don't know with the current construct of the roster and how I think the most talented receivers are probably the guys that need that have the least experience. Like I think Malik McClain's pretty talented. I think Deuce Spann has all the tools you'd ever want, but nobody's really proven out wide. It's just not a great receiving core. It's probably average for the ACC at best. If they had like elite receivers, then yeah, I would think they'd have a chance to be really good on offense with Tate Rodemaker as the quarterback. Like really good. That's how bullish I am on him. They don't though. This team has a chance to be a very good running offense. I don't think it has a chance to be a very good passing offense with the way it's currently constructed. So with that in mind, quite obviously, Jordan Travis is the better, in my opinion, is the better quarterback for this team because of what he gives you running the ball. And I do not mean just his legs. I mean his impact on the game plan, his impact just being out there is something that you don't get with Tate Rodemaker or A.J. Duffy or anybody else. He is such a unique weapon that it changes the way teams have to defend. It certainly changes the way teams defend the zone read. And, that as good a drive as that Rodemaker had, and it was almost all through the air, a couple minutes later, Jordan Travis had a touchdown drive too that was all on the ground. But so much, I don't know that Trayshawn Ward is ripping off a 25-yard touchdown run if it's Tate Rodemaker handing the ball off to him.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know what I mean? So that's how we have to kind of gauge, in my opinion, the 2022 Florida State offense. And again, we're also, August 3rd? It's still, you still got 3 weeks until the first game, essentially. And then you've got, the real game in New Orleans. Let's see what it looks like. But yeah, I don't know that, I don't think Jordan Travis will ever be a natural, he might not ever be a natural thrower of the football in the sense that he sees it quick, man. That's all I mean by that. We've all seen him throw some absolute dimes. But a lot of his plays have come, rolling out to his right and then seeing it or throwing down the sideline. He is very good at throwing down the sideline. Middle of the field, still not seeing it with him yet. But I still think overall what he gives you, I think I know this. I don't even think I think this. He is better for this offense right now because of that unique running. But he will turn what would be an average running offense into perhaps a very, very good running offense. And I don't know that Rodemaker would have as big an impact on the passing game as Jordan Travis has on the running game, if any of that made sense.
Yeah, I just don't want to think the criticism of him not having I'm not saying that he's out there like sulking or anything like that in terms of having a bad spirit. I just think that it's quarterbacks have to be special. That calm and that ease that he was at ACC kickoff, like I was hoping he was going to have that on the field. But he just still doesn't. I mean, we've been talking about he doesn't have good enough receivers. He doesn't have a good enough offensive line. Well, he's got a good offensive line now, and he's got good enough receivers. But again, it still looks very
I don't
similar.
know. I guess I don't understand. Like he's coming over and talking to players. He's coming over and dapping them up when they do well, or maybe
the way he operates in the pocket, man. There's not
what you're saying. Well, yeah,
there's not an ease and a confidence. There's a natural ability. It takes a special ability to be able to go back there, scramble for 23 yards for a first down, calm yourself, get your heart rate down, and then be able to make a good throw right after that. And we don't see the consistency of him going out there and having 3 straight drives. They're like, good gosh, man, watch out, this guy's coming. I'm not bashing this guy. I am being a little bit critical, obviously here, but I'm by no means am I saying he's hopeless or they need to do better. Because right now, the way they're constructed with Tate Rodemaker where he's at, and then A.J. Duffy behind him. He is the best quarterback out of those guys. The whole hypothetical here is just that, I believe that if Mike Norvell had the choice between Jordan Travis or maybe what Tate Rodemaker could look like in 2023, I think he would like that. I think if he had to pick between Riley Ferguson or Taylor White or I'm sorry, Brady
White?
Brady White.
Brady White.
Brady White at Memphis. Like, he would rather have one of those quarterbacks. Tate Rodemaker's closer to the mold of those guys than what Jordan brings to the table. But he's making the best of it. And Jordan's making the best of it too, man. Like, he's out there absolutely competing, absolutely wants it more than all of us listening to this podcast combined to the second power. Again, I'm not criticizing or challenging his heart, but man, just I don't really know what he could have maybe even done in the offseason. There's some guys, remember, like Bo Wallace at Ole Miss, went and hung out with that, the quarterback guru, not George Whitfield, but is there a Tom House that's committed to the basketball team?
Yeah, well, he's on the team now, yeah.
Man, because I swear there was a guy named something House so Bo Wallace went changed all of his mechanics, was supposed to come back this.
Oh, you're thinking of Tom House, the former major league pitcher.
Yes, is that so? That's two guys named Tom House.
Well, I think the kid that's on the basketball team is named Tom. But he's definitely House. But yeah, Tom House. Actually, a little trivia, Aslan. Yeah. He caught Hank Aaron's 715th home run to break Babe Ruth's record. He was in the bullpen where it landed, and he caught it, and then ran it in and gave it to him. Now he's not a football throwing guru. He's more of a mechanics guru and a pitching guru, obviously. Yeah.
So Bo Wallace went and saw him, and everything was supposed to be cleaned up, and then.
Yeah, but I don't think our issues with Jordan Travis aren't necessarily mechanics.
No. But my point being, maybe I'm the one here that needs to have tempered expectations, because again, what could he have done in the offseason to really. These are innate abilities. These are innate qualities, being able to see the field, being able to be at ease in the pocket, being able to have the confidence to all right, man, I have the 3-yard out. I have that in my back pocket. Let me see what I can maybe push down the field, rather than I've got the 3-yard out. All right, let me take it right now. Let's go. I'm going to take what they give me.
Well, I don't even think it's that, man. I don't see a lot of Brad Johnson, going back old school for any of you old school listeners. When he initially won the job from Casey Weldon in 1990, and he surprised everyone, it was because he didn't make any mistakes. And then when you saw him play, you saw why. It was a bunch of screen passes to Edgar Bennett, a bunch. Edgar Bennett, amply, and then occasionally he'd throw a 20-yarder to Lawrence Dawsey. But that was the offense. He didn't take a lot of shots at all. And then he got replaced after maybe a quarter of the Auburn game. Then A&M lose it anyway. But Casey Weldon came in, and Casey Weldon was just balls to the wall. He didn't seem to care about anything. He's just flinging it all over the place. Now there were a few bad things that happened with Casey Weldon, but mostly they were really good. He took shots downfield. He loved throwing the deep ball, and the offense took off. I don't know necessarily that's what this Florida State offense needs, is a guy that's willy-nilly with the ball, but I do think there's a good balance. And what I was going to say is what I'm really interested in, and they get the day off today, is I'm really interested in Thursday. Look, Tate Rodemaker hadn't played a ton the last 2 or 3 days. I'll throw it out there. He just hadn't. If you're wondering why we hadn't talked about him much or written about him much, whatever. He wasn't getting a ton of reps. So he came out and got full reps on Tuesday. And in that one, and they did scrimmage it. It was like an actual scrimmage situation where they usually they just do okay, these are 3 first down plays, these are 3 third down plays. No matter how well you do on these 3 plays, you're done. The next unit comes in. With these two, with this segment of the practice, it was if you got a first down, you kept going. It was like a game situation in that regard. And he literally got the ball, whatever, the 20-yard line, 25-yard line, ripped right down the field, including a really nice throw to Darian Williamson, who was being covered by Azarie Thomas, and he was being covered well, but not well enough. Rodemaker put it on. Williamson, who had a nice day, by the way, made a really nice catch. And then Marquise and Douglas finished off the drive with a 16-yard touchdown catch down the right sideline on a perfectly thrown ball from Rodemaker. But what Rodemaker was doing was getting rid of the ball quick and seeing it and getting rid of it quick and putting it on guys and using the middle of the field. I don't think Jordan Travis, the passes he makes are usually, I think, holding on to the ball a little too long. Not necessarily, I don't see it, let me get rid of it quick. Let me get rid of it quick. That's the first guy that's open I'm throwing to. He's just not maybe anticipating guys getting open well enough or trusting what he sees. And so this was the point I wanted to make, Aslan. 5 hours later, I'm getting to it. So after that drive that Rodemaker had, Travis goes back out. And his best pass of the day, in my opinion, was I think it was a third down pass. It doesn't really matter. But Micah Pittman, kind of on a square in, middle of the field, catch the ball, plant, fire into a crowd. Like Micah Pittman wasn't wide open, into a crowd for a first down, a 14, 15-yard gain. And I wonder if what Tate Rodemaker did in seeing that could maybe unloosen or unlock something in Jordan Travis. Not that he's all of a sudden going to become Charlie Ward, but that he's like, okay, I've got to raise my level of game a little bit because this guy's getting rid of it. And now there's film. Like he's going to be in the QB room watching that Tate Rodemaker drive and seeing how quickly he got rid of the ball and seeing where he put it and seeing how he trusts what he sees. And I wonder if that drive, I don't think it was a coincidence that Travis really for the first time all day ripped a ball in the middle of the field right after that Tate Rodemaker drive where that's all he was doing. And I wonder if maybe that is something he can build on because at some point you got to let it rip a little bit. Not too much. You don't want to be you can't be careless. You can't be 2014 Jameis. But you also don't want to be 1990 Brad Johnson. You want to find that fine line where you're taking some shots downfield and you're taking some shots in the middle of the field. And what would you say Jordan Travis's best, most impressive throw all of last season was?
4th and 14.
Why do you think he threw it like that?
Well, he had no other choice. Right.
Right. He had to just let it rip. He couldn't roll out to his right and wait for somebody to get open. He had to let it rip because he had no other choice. It was 4th and 14. It wasn't 2nd and 6. It was 4th and 14. He had to let it rip, and I just hope maybe that. So he's shown he can do it. He threw it to a spot. Parchment wasn't open when he threw it. He just trusted he would be at that spot and ripped it there. That's kind of what he did with Pittman today, and I hope maybe what Rodemaker did. Again, we talk about iron and sharpen iron. That's kind of what we talk about on this show. Yeah. I hope maybe what Rodemaker did on Tuesday raises the level of the starter too, because if he can get that where he trusts himself in the middle of the field, seeing it, throwing it, and not holding on to the ball a tick too long, man, he'd be a good quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that as it was happening. It just like the best play that Jordan made was coming off the heels of a great play that Tate made. And, I mean, the same thing happened on Friday. I think, Tate made a great throw to Johnny Wilson. It was like the biggest air yards throw that had been accomplished in 11-on-11 that day. But then the very next drive, Jordan Travis comes back and throws the same route to Malik McClain, maybe a yard or two even deeper than Tate Rodemaker. And it was like, yeah, maybe these, the success begets success sort of thing. So,
well, and you're a competitor, right?
Yeah.
Like I know, Joe, and it's good, man. I mean, I know people might have listened to the start of this show and be like, oh no, this doesn't sound promising. That's mostly Aslan, but also we're not here to tell you that we're covering a national championship football team and a Heisman-winning quarterback because we're not. But yeah, I think, man, that's just, you can't put a price tag on that stuff, man. You want Jordan Travis to feel challenged. He's not being, there's no QB competition. It's Jordan Travis's job, but you want him to feel challenged. You want him to feel Tate Rodemaker coming on, and you want him to answer it. And I thought, honestly, I really did think that he did a pretty good job after the Rodemaker play. I really thought he did. And he had a long touchdown pass to who was it out in the flat? Maybe Trayshawn out in the flat? I don't remember. But he had a long touchdown pass where he held on the ball a little bit too long, but then let his guy get wide open. I think it was in 7-on-7s and found him for a long touchdown. I thought Travis was fine. I thought he was good. I thought he was good yesterday. I thought he was good on Monday as well. But I just thought Rodemaker, to me, stole the show on Tuesday, and hopefully that just that makes Travis have to raise his level of game a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, I do not think Jordan Travis is a bad quarterback. I just wanted to maybe hopefully see a little bit better out of him at this point. But again, it is a week into camp, and now they're actually in full pad, so we really can't even compare what they did on day one of camp to where they're at now. But, when we're in Jacksonville next week, maybe then we can really have some apples-to-apples comparison on things because, yeah, I mean, this is a team that's like a 6 to 8 win team window, and there's some times where I'll watch them play, and I'm like, man, they look really good. If everything goes their way, they can go above like even an 8-win sort of ceiling. But then there's also some situations that happen that you're like, man, yeah, just get to a bowl, I guess, and that's to be expected when you've got that 6 to 8 kind of range that you're in. You're going to have those highs and those lows. And you see them like move the ball really well. Yeah. And then like you have a bad snap and then you can't even get a field goal off. And then you're like, that's a 7-win team. That's a 6-win team right there. Because like, yeah, you got to go 65 yards to score and get points. You don't just go 3 plays in a set and get points and then move on. Like, yeah, it's great. They start from their own 35 and then they have 4 or 5 good plays. They're on the plus side of the field. They're in field goal range. But then you can't even get the operation down to get the kickoff. And you're like, like I was just starting to feel good about things, but then this happens. But again, it's to be expected when you don't have a Heisman on anywhere on the field and you're not a national championship contender. But yeah, man, I still feel good about where they're at. But there's some times where I just kind of, I don't know, I try to dream a little bit, everybody. I try to get a little bit optimistic and think that, what if everything hits? And then you sometimes kind of, the reality of the situation presents itself. And I didn't mean to go at you, Jordan. I hope I wasn't being unfair. I don't think. I just, it was something I just thought about, seeing the anguish on, Mike Norvell's face. But everybody would like a better quarterback, right? It's not just Mike Norvell. Everybody would like a better quarterback, except
I think Alabama's set.
Yeah, they're probably good.
I think the biggest development on Tuesday, and I thought Tuesday was a real big positive, because look, man, and Ira brought this up multiple times. I think he brought it up to Norvell even, if I'm remembering correctly, that, man, the last 2 or 3, 4 years around here, if you were running with the second team offense, you had no chance to do diddly poo. You couldn't do anything. Everything was blown up. It was just a jailbreak almost on every pass attempt. That offensive line could not block Florida State's second string defensive line, and it wasn't even close. And that has been a constant around here for years. Well, it ain't a constant anymore. Like, Tate Rodemaker had time to throw. They also hit some runs. Like, that to me is such a big development. And again, I don't think this isn't the best offensive line in the conference. I don't even know if it's top 4 or 5 in the conference. But compared to what it was and the depth that it has, where you're talking about multiple guys who have started probably double-digit games in their college careers, maybe backups. Also, you got like a 5-star kid as a backup, he was a 5-star. I don't know what Armella ended up, but you've got real talented freshmen that aren't being thrown into anything other than competing, but they're not threatening to win a starting spot because you don't want to. You don't want a freshman on the offensive line starting, a true freshman that's been here for 2 weeks. So. But the fact that there's so much more depth on the offensive line that they can actually run plays and string together an entire series with no real negative plays, and even the third stringers, some of them, it's not a jailbreak every play with them either. Like that to me, it just can't be overstated how important that is to get those kind of quality reps in. That to me, and what it does for the competition level, it's just you just can't put a price tag on it, man. Like somebody asked us this on Seminole Headlines. How many, other than Dylan Gibbons, who are the 3 best offensive linemen that Florida State has right now?
Man, y'all talk about Dylan Gibbons like my man Steve Hutchison, by the way.
Hutch dog.
He's good. Which, by the way,
well, I mean, he's the most proven one on this team. So other than him, take him out of the equation. Because that's an easy one.
After him?
Yes.
I like Demetri Emanuel. I had him, I think, really high in my top 40, so I'll put him in the category. I'll put him in the conversation. Robert Scott, and I know we can't talk about personnel, but Maurice Smith.
Right, and we're not even sure if Maurice Smith will start.
Are we, though?
No, I'm legitimately not sure about that. So, but we're not even sure about Demetri Emanuel either, if he'll start. We don't know. Like there are still guys working themselves back into the rotation. We'll see as the pads stay, now that they're here for good, what really happens up front. But the point being, I had a hard time doing it. I said Robert Scott. I don't even know. I think I might have said Emmanuel too. But the point is, it's people might hear that and go, wow, they can't even think of 3 offensive linemen that are good. Well, no, because to me, from 2 to 8 or 2 to 9, they're almost all interchangeable as far as talent level. And again, we're not talking about Walter Jones or our man Hutchinson, but we're talking about competent offensive linemen from 1 to 9. And if you want to throw Estes in the mix, because Estes is getting some run, and he had a good day, a really good day, I thought, on Tuesday. Tom Lang was over the moon about him. So was Jeff. You're talking about maybe 1 through 10 of legitimately competent to maybe decent offensive linemen. Now, some could end up being better than that, but at worst, they're competent, right? They're not embarrassments. And again, you just wanted 2-3 years ago, you couldn't even do 1 through 4. Now you're 1 through 10, where you feel like you have pretty competent dudes, and that doesn't probably even include Armella, who I think's been pretty impressive in his first 7 days as a college football player. And those other young guys who will keep learning. I mean, I'm excited about where the offensive line is, not because I think they're the best in the country, but in relation to what it has been for so long. It is not an embarrassment to football anymore. It is actually a competent, decent group. I don't know that it's a good offensive line, but I know it's not a bad offensive line, which is a big step.
By the way, Steve Hutchison is from Fort Lauderdale. He went to Coral Spring High, but ended up in Michigan. Good job, Jimmy Higgins. How'd you let that one slip through our fingers? Also, Tom House's Twitter bio says, I coach kids of all ages to be their own GOAT, period. Caught Hank Aaron's 7/15.
There you go. Yep. A
Actually,
little bit of trivia for you.
Yeah. And Julian Armella was a consensus 4-star. He was a 5-star at one point with Rivals. But you know how it goes, everybody. Once Rivals finds out that someone's coming to Florida State, they take a star away from them. Well,
we don't have to worry about that anymore, do we?
So whatever people used to say about that stuff. But yeah,
did you tell people? We told people about that dollar deal.
Yeah, we did.
Warchant. Just type in warchant.com. I've had a few people DM me or email me confused about what had happened, and that's just what I tell them, is that if you just type in warchant.com, the new network comes up, On3, our site on On3 comes up, and there's a big old banner to join for $1 for a year. So go do it.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't want to
thousands upon thousands of people have done it.
Yes, literally. I don't want to. It's weird because I don't want to call it the new site because Warchant's been around forever and it's still warchant.com.
It's still all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know how it goes. It's the new network, I guess, or whatever is kind of the way around it. All right. Defensively, anything catch your eye, Corey? Again, the offense right now has pretty much everything at their disposal. He mentioned it, so we can actually Cam McDonald, the one piece notwithstanding, which if he were to take a jump or have a switch flip or a light bulb go off, could maybe be a revelation for the offense. Don't know if that's the case.
Don't you think he kind of is what he is, though?
Yes,
which is
I do.
Serviceable to solid tight end.
Yeah. The defense, meanwhile, though, they more so than the offense continue to kind of mix and match stuff on purpose, but they're also having to deal with some things personnel-wise, which I do not think they are major in scope at all. Those guys are at practice. They're fully padded. They're in good spirits. They're just not out there for a lot of the things that we're seeing. So I don't know if that we need to always take that into account, at least now when we talk about the defense. But, they remain, to me, again, an impressive unit. Guys like Dennis Briggs having good days. Derek McClendon was a guy that sort of flashed. I just remain encouraged by Adam Fuller's unit.
Yeah, I do too. One thing that, because it's hard, it's not like Fabian Lovett is, and I'm not giving away any secrets, Fabian Lovett isn't getting a ton of reps. Neither, for that matter, are the two safeties. But Fabian Lovett is not getting a ton of reps because they are trying to work in Farmer, who's been impressive so far. He just looks the part for sure. But they're working in younger guys. And I hearken back to when in the preseason, and I'm not comparing him necessarily to this player, but in the preseason of 2013, Jimbo told me as we walked away, he's like, I can't practice Jernigan because he just wrecks everything. And he wasn't letting them even get plays off. They couldn't run their offense because once the pads came on, because Jernigan was just a beast.
Miss you, Tim.
So, Matt, think about that, man. That was a pretty darn good offensive line. And that was a Remington Award winner.
They all went to the league. They were all in the league.
And they couldn't. Jernigan was so good he had to be taken off the practice field so they could actually run some stuff with their freshman quarterback. And the point being, I think, not that Fabian Lovett is just absolutely wrecking everything when he's out there, but they know what he is. Now, he needs reps. He needs to be in game shape. He needs to play with his teammates some, but they know what Fabian Lovett is. They know what Cooper is. So they're not getting all the reps, and you wouldn't want them to. So there is a lot of mixing and matching with Bo. It's hard to even call him a first team and a second team, really. They just get mixed and matched a lot. But, yeah, overall, I've liked what I've seen. I thought Briggs and McClendon flashed to me on Tuesday. Burse always flashes to me. He always seems to make one or two plays. He does a good job, at least right now, of kind of reading things out wide and like getting out wide and staying home. He did that one time and forced a throwaway from Travis where, again, normally there aren't many defensive ends in the country where Jordan Travis has to throw the ball away. He'll just run around him and at least get a few yards, but that wasn't happening on Tuesday. And I just think that they have been impressive. I still want to see more, and I'm not saying they haven't played well. I got to see more from the backup tackles.
Yes.
I just want to see. I want to see some bigger plays. Now, Tom said that Malcolm Ray had a good day because I hadn't really seen him. He hadn't popped to me much. But Tom did say that Malcolm Ray had a good day on Tuesday. Farmer, I've seen him a few times, and he's done well. Jackson has done. He's flashed to me maybe more than the other guys. But you got to develop that depth. Lovett and Cooper. This isn't Jermaine Johnson where he's going to be playing 80 snaps. Defensive tackle is a different animal. Lovett and Cooper aren't going to be playing. They don't need to be playing 70 or 80 snaps a game. So you still got to develop that depth behind them. But I think that defensive line is going to be pretty good against the run. And I'm starting to get a little more bullish on what they could be as a pass rushing group. I still got to see. I got to see more days and pads with Verse, Briggs, and McClendon. But I think that trio might be able to do some things. Maybe that trio can equal what Jermaine and Keir did as a duo. I don't know. If they can do that, then yeah, this defense will be good.
Okay. All right. I think Brendan
and also
Gant
I wanted to mention again.
I think Brendan Gant and my guy Leonard Warner had like back-to-back TFLs. That was crazy to see. But shout out to those guys.
Yeah, that was good. Gant had a couple nice plays, and I also wanted to mention Lundy. That guy, he keeps making plays. He keeps making plays in the backfield. He's doing a better job of covering running backs. Now, look, man. He can't cover like Ja'Kai Douglas, so I don't want something to happen in the LSU game if Lundy's out there and he somehow gets matched up on a twitchy 5'9" running back or receiver and he can't keep up with him down the sideline. He's DJ Lundy, man. So don't come at me if something like that happens. But he has improved. He is at least serviceable there. Again, think of 2 years ago when he was thrown into action and there was no chance. There's just no chance. But he's better now. And which is what's supposed to happen, right? You're supposed to get better. You're supposed to improve. DJ Lundy in that Notre Dame game, no chance 2 years ago up in South Bend. He's a better player now. And so is Amari Gaynor. And think about, there's a fact that both those guys are probably going to be backups. And they're decent. They're good players. They were two of your leading tacklers last year. And they're backups. Now, they'll play a good bit. But when we talk about the strides they made at the offensive line, well, again, I'd like maybe them to get another linebacker in the portal because I think right now you feel good about four of them, and that's probably where it ends. But they only play two at a time typically, so you have a first team and a second team that you feel pretty good about, and I think those guys that's more depth than they've had, along with the offensive line. The two weakest links of this program by far in recent years have gotten significantly upgraded, in my opinion. Deloach, Lundy, and Gaynor because they've just improved, and then Bethune comes in and automatically becomes one of your best players on the defense. So, just again, I'm couching it. I'm positive. I'm genuinely excited about this season. I'm pretty darn encouraged by what I've seen through the 5 practices that I've seen and the 6 or 7 that they've had overall. Because they look like a Power 5 football team in every respect, right? There aren't guys that don't belong. There's a few, but they're few and far between where you're like, okay, what's that guy even doing here? Like the guys that aren't up to snuff right now, it's almost all because they're young and they're learning. But they've either been injured and haven't gotten to play much, or they're true freshmen. But everybody else that's on this roster now, you at least see there's a projection there where they're either going to play a lot or they could play a lot in the future. And that's just, it's not what Florida State has been in recent years. They have players, multiple players at every position. And now, honestly, as much an upgrade as I think they made a receiver, I think that's my biggest worry going into the season is, are they going to be good enough at receiver to make a giant leap or a sizable leap offensively?
Well, I mean, they did the best they could, right?
Yep.
To a certain degree there. I mean, they hopped in the portal early and grabbed everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know how many guys. It wasn't like they, shot their wad too quick on that and then lost out on other guys. So I wonder what point we're going to talk about that Jacksonville State transfer. I wonder when he's going to get involved in the mix. But I like the secondary. I like that defense a lot. When I think about like the best 11 they have on that defense, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good. I like that. Not 85 Bears, not 2001. What is it? 2001 Ravens. But then like when you see some of these other guys get cycled, then you're like, whoa, that's a bit of a drop. That's a bit of a drop off from that guy. But it's to be expected. They're rebuilding this thing. They churn the roster. Sooner than later, it'll all be nice and seamless.
And we get asked a lot on headlines too about Azareye'h Thomas, and I don't know if he's going to start. I don't know if it matters if he starts the first game or the first or second game, but we definitely both agree he's going to play a lot, right?
Oh yeah. Starting.
I would say, and I would also say, because again, I thought Amarian Cooper was incredible in the first 3 practices that I watched. Like, he wasn't giving up anything in one-on-ones. He's not had a good last couple of practices, but we know it's there. So I would say that Azareye'h Thomas has probably been their best corner consistently overall through the first week. And so I think that he's got to be on. He's had a really good day on Tuesday as well. He had 2 that he almost intercepted. There were no interceptions by anyone on Tuesday, by the way, if you were wondering about that. But yeah, I think that when you think about those 2 safeties, I think you probably have one of the best safety combos in the conference. Jamie Robinson, again, is an all-ACC returner. And then you have, I think, an all-ACC caliber corner in Cooper, if he's playing well. And I don't even know what the ceiling is with Thomas. Like, I hesitate to say it. I don't want to put way too much pressure on the kid. But
I've already started calling it a reasonable facsimile to
corners.
Jalen Ramsey. I mean, shoot. I mean, you don't want to put too much expectation on him?
Yeah, poor man's Jalen. Could you say that? But he might be better than Jalen. I don't know. He's been really good. So when you have those 2 safeties along with who I think will, by the middle of the season, probably, maybe, will probably be your 2 main cornerbacks. And throw in Noles, and then Jarian Jones is around there. Renardo Green's in there, man. Yeah. Renardo Green hadn't been bad. We got this transfer from Jacksonville State.
Malik Feaster. Yeah, so
we also think Shaheem Brown will probably play a little bit more. Either way, like I feel like that's a pretty strong secondary. I think that's a strong secondary. I think there's maybe multiple NFL guys in that secondary, and it's just that's really encouraging if they stay healthy. And even if they don't, I feel like maybe you have more answers than you've had in the past. Well, I don't feel like that. I know that you have more answers than you've had in the past. I just think Azareye'h Thomas, if he's as good as he looks, and he can continue to play like this once it actually matters, to me it changes the whole complexion of the defense. Like, is he a shutdown corner? Is he an All-American? Is he a Thorpe finalist? I don't know.
Help this kid. I will be honest though, in terms of like what we've seen at practice and what we're going based off of a career, which he doesn't have a career, man. He's a true freshman. Like, I'm always hesitant to really put big expectations or put a lot of confidence points if you're talking about like, a bowl pick'em league. Man, I'll put all there's no way he won't be a great football player for this program.
Now,
and it's going to happen sooner than
Aslan
later.
though, because he's right. I think I'm almost 100% there with you. It does not mean he's not going to give up yards and touchdowns. He is a true freshman cornerback.
I mean, Jalen got run over in the Rose Bowl. Everybody.
And anytime somebody comes at me when Azareye'h Thomas makes a mistake or has a bad play for the next 4 months, I am going to send them that clip. Here's the best cornerback on the planet as a true freshman, getting run over in the biggest moment of the season. Like, it happens. You play like fresh. Sometimes all great corners get beat. Freshman, it's a different adjustment. He is not going to be, I was joking, obviously. He's not going to be a Thorpe finalist. We don't even know if he'll start the season. But he just, I think he's your most talented guy.
Yeah. That's the best way to put it. I mean, I know it simplifies it, but he is the most like athletically gifted, talented player, from this freshman class, and we're seeing it
too, though, man. Like, it's not just that he's the most talented guy and the most talented freshman. Man, he seems to be really smart.
Yeah.
In that, look, I know there are examples, but when you think of all the really good Florida State football players that I've covered anyway through recent years, to a man, they've almost all been pretty darn smart. Like, you got to have it. Like, me and Ira were talking about this. Like, baseball is probably the only maybe basketball to an extent, in college anyway. But baseball, you can be an idiot and be awesome. No. Because, in fact, it probably hurts you to be too smart. You hear that all the time. Meat used to say that. Like, he actually thinks too much. The dumber you are, like, Manny Ramirez, he didn't, there's all these stories about Manny Ramirez not even know who the pitcher was. Not even realizing the pitcher was left-handed until he got in the batter's box. Like, just things that there's the ball, I'm going to hit it. I'm not going to overthink this. That's what that really does help you in baseball.
That's not intelligence as much as, like, I don't know, like focus.
Sure,
intention.
Right.
Yeah.
But this kid has a football IQ, but also I think just has a regular high IQ. And I'll say this: go watch the videos of like Jared Verse and Dennis Briggs too. Yes, smart dudes, man. Not just freak athletes. Well, Jared Verse is a freak athlete. I think Dennis Briggs might be too, the way they talk about him and as big as he is. But they're smart. That matters, man. Maybe you're a point. Florida State is getting to a point now where they're bringing in guys like that are NFL talented, but also NFL like smart. Like, literally, they win plays with their brains too, and not just physical ability. And that to me is that's what stands out a lot about Azarie, man. He's got a really good head on his shoulders, and I think he's going that only helps. And yeah, so that's what, to me, obviously he's very physically talented, but he's smart. Dennis Briggs is smart. Tatum Bethune is smart. Jamie Robinson is smart. Jamie Robinson has a football IQ off the charts. Like, all that matters, man, especially, well, I guess on both sides of the ball, but man, it really seems to matter on defense to have guys that translate, process information really quickly.
Just realized, Azarie is from Niceville, and Jalen's from Nashville. So I don't know. There's got to be some wordplay that we can figure out or something. Maybe. No, not right now. Though. We got to go.
That seemed like a reach. Are we leaving? Or are we done?
Because I bring it up, it's a reach, but everything Corey says is just gold. Just spits gold.
Well,
bars.
no, I mean, it's
Fort Knox over here.
No,
I'm kidding. It's fine. Let's get out of this.
Trey Bien. Yeah. Well, Ira and Jeff think Trey Magnifique backfield is better, but I don't know. We'll have to workshop it. But I was going to say that I think that what was I going to say? I was just about to say something. Darn it, Aslan.
Goodbye. You do have a really good knack of me derailing you, but you losing absolutely. Like, I lose my train of thought myself speaking, but I'll interrupt you and you'll go on a sidebar for 15, 20 seconds and somehow come back to the point you were making.
Usually
you'll
I
pick
do,
right
but
up.
this one I completely forgot, but it was going to be a humdinger. It was going to be probably the best point of the whole podcast.
Smart players, the defense, Azarie.
No.
Well, you can wake me up in the middle of the morning and we'll tack it onto the show.
Oh, did we mention Marqueston Douglas?
I mean, I didn't think we needed to do that at the 54-minute mark of the pod, but I love Biscuit. Go ahead. What about Biscuit?
So he had, I'm going to guess, I'm throwing this out. I think he had 7 catches on Tuesday, 6 or 7 catches, including, I did because I mentioned that touchdown. But that wasn't the only play he made. He had a 30-yarder in 7-on-7s. Deuce Spann, by the way, had an 80-yarder. That was 7-on-7 too. Now, he just blew through the defense and was wide open in the middle of the field. He bobbled the ball, which gave me a little pause. But he did catch it, and it was going to be an 80-yard touchdown. But Marqueston Douglas, man, he's getting a lot of reps. Him and Jackson West both here to start training camp. And I thought by far it was his best day. He is a big target. He got open. He caught everything that was thrown to him. I don't know how much he's going to contribute. necessarily, but again, you're talking about developing depth and you're developing options. And maybe this is a guy that can be something. But he was something on Tuesday because he had 6 or 7 catches. I was encouraged by that because we've been rightly critical of the tight end position at times this camp already. And I thought they had their best day. Jackson West made a great block on a run around edge that might have been a home run, like a 60-yarder. It definitely was a first down. But anyway, Marquise Douglas was one of the standouts, I thought, of the entire practice. That was good to see.
Yeah, I like Marquise. I mean, that was a throwing shade. I like all of you guys, except the one player that pushed the button on the sod cemetery when Jeff and Corey were recording their stand-up after that. You're on probation right now.
Yeah, and he didn't push it and then listen to what was being said. He just pushed it as he walked by.
Yeah.
So we're watching him like a hawk. Yeah. Hopefully that's the last time that happens, or we might have to say something, Aslan.
Yeah. Joke's on him, though. We have such good equipment that none of that stuff really gets into the mics, so you probably can't even tell.
Good.
Yeah, but I know it throws you off your game. I mean, it doesn't throw you off your game because you still do a great job, but you make a note in your mind. You know, Corey Clark keeps receipts. He keeps tab on these things. So,
amen, buddy.
All right, well, yeah, we're done, but we're going to do an entire Renegade Express for you folks for the Thursday program. So we'll take all your questions. Hop over to warchant.com. We're still doing the same thing. There's going to be a thread posted to the top of the board. It's called Renegade Express. Go ahead, hop in there, post your question. And if you're a new person, hopefully we've converted you to warchant.com because, again, it's only $1 for an entire year. Let us know your hometown and the most famous person from that hometown if you're a first-time, involved member of the
then the rules.
Express.
We need to know the famous people from your hometown and where you're from, how long you've been a member.
Yeah.
You can talk about Warchant itself because it's been an entity for 20 years. So don't just say I've been a member for 11 hours. If you were also on the quote unquote old site for 10 years.
Which, by the way, sidebar real quick, I know we got to go. Man, why did you guys change your names? If you're going to change your name, and I get it, things happen. I used to live in Ohio. Now I live in, Kansas. I'm going to change it. At least use the same avatar. Like a lot of you folks are using this as like a new lease on life. No, man, come on. Bring over, who you were because you don't,
What's
your
that
points.
about, Aslan? Why are you mad about it?
Well, because I can like hear these people's voices in my head, even though I've never heard them talk. Like I know who they are by the way they've conversed and been on the tribal council throughout the years on warchant.com. And then now you see these threads about like, oh, what did your name used to be? And I'm like, oh, like that was that person? Like that, because I just saw them post a comment in another thread. And I'm like, oh, but I know who they are because that used to be their name over when we were on the other network. And it's just like, well, it's like getting a facelift and a haircut. More than, I can't even tell you what it would be like because it's happening all around the country. I digress. Let's get done with the show.
That reminds me of one of my favorite Anthony Jeselnik jokes. You know who that is, the comedian?
Oh, yeah. This is going to go
He
well.
said that his girlfriend, he's like, my girlfriend came home the other day. She got a haircut, and she got 4 inches cut off her hair, and she was just beside herself. She was crying for hours. And I was like, you think you feel bad? I have to get a new girlfriend. So anyway, there you go.
Jeff Cameron Show coming up 1 o'clock, 93.3 FM in Tallahassee, as well as Warchant TV. That is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. Subscribe to warchant.com. Thumbs up, 5-star rating, and review, please. Renegade Express coming up tomorrow. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.